We got this model from Power Hobby. They were kind enough to send this over. I was going to do a speed build at first on this thing, but it would go so fast I might just as well put it together right in front of you. So we're just going to have at it here. Anyway, beautiful plane, guys. I mean, I've been looking this thing over, and honestly, I think it's stronger. It's built better than some of the other models I've seen from E-Flite. And I like the foam better. I think it's a little bit more solid, even if it's the same carbon or Z foam that I believe they call it. It just seems a little bit more stout. So anyway, let's get this thing going here, and got the two stabilizers back here. I'm going to look for that little spar. Here we are. And then what I like to do is, instead of putting it in one of the surfaces right off the bat, I like to get it centered in the fuselage first. And there's a little hole here on the side that you're going to put this thing through. And that way you can kind of measure. I've gotten pretty good at just kind of eyeballing and use my fingers a little bit to get them really, really close. And pretty even, right about there. And then we pop these on. You want to pop the one on first with the longest part here. I'm going to put this one on first. That would be the left side. Maybe that's why it was fitting so tight. Yeah, see, this side just slides right in. There we go. Well, at least you know if you're putting it on wrong, don't force it, right? If it's going on too tight, there's a reason. It's not supposed to go there, maybe. And remember, it's a foam airplane, guys, so you don't want to push anything too hard anyway. See that? Now that one just rocked right in. Beautiful. Okay? And then there's two little set screws that are going to go right up in the top of this here and here. We'll get that to that in just a little bit. Ordinarily, you should do that now, but I'm going to get rolling here and just go ahead and pop this bottom wing on here. We'll take the canopy off here so I can get at the wiring. Set that off to the side there. And let's grab our wing. Now, I've already taken the liberty of connecting the wires. When I first opened this up, just the short wires are tucked down into the wing, and they give you 3 two-way splitters. So, and they're all labeled. Even the splitters are labeled with the gear flap, and so you just hook them all up and run them right basically through the fuselage, and make sure you keep your wires down in the grooves here. I usually like to try to push them down there just a little bit and then leave a little redundant slack down in there. It kind of holds the wires down so that I don't take a chance on pinching something when I'm setting the wings into place, because that happens a lot, and sometimes you don't even notice it till you go to tighten the screws, and then they don't want to tighten all the way down, and you think, it just doesn't fit right. Well, it's because you're pinching a wire in there. So I just guide this up through the bottom. And let's count them, make sure we got them all. Long enough splitters on these things, guys, that you'll have plenty of wire. Don't worry about it. The receiver's right behind them anyway. Almost didn't even really need the splitters on this, but I guess right now I'm probably going to be looking for the hardware to batten things down here. Meantime, we'll just set this here, and I'm going to have to look at the instruction manual to figure out. Not all the time when you're dealing with the safe selects do the same connectors aileron go to the same numbers. I've seen sometimes they swap them around. Sometimes ailerons have separate channels. Not on this one, obviously, but like on my Prometheus it did. So, let's see here, what's next. Okay, I'm going to find the hardware here, guys, and call this a short real quick. I'll be right back. Little hardware packet. Show you how much is in there. Actually, it's not a whole heck of a lot. Just like 6 screws and a spinner for the prop there. So We're going to bolt this thing up together here real quick so I don't lose any pieces, and the rest should just pop together. The bombs look like they actually just clip on, so there's no gluing there, but what I do see is that the guns will probably have to be glued with a little foam tack glue on the front, and that's about it. That's the only glue that I see anywhere on this thing. So let me pop these. I did look at these, and the connections are the same. So number 2 is elevator, number 6 would be flaps, number 5 would be gear. So let's plop these in here real quick. And then we'll bind the thing up too when I get the screws in this thing. These are, ailerons are number 2. If any of you guys get this model, it's so fresh, it's so new. It's got that new plain smell, and I'll be honest with you, it does not smell good. This thing smells like it was on a boat from China for a long time, and hovering over it right now is really, you guys, if you buy one of these, you probably get the same thing. I think it's so fresh out of the mold and stuff too, and with the paint, who knows what's in this stuff. I'm having a little trouble here getting this one on there, so let me stand over. You know what? Let's try this. This might be a little better. Of course, I might have to move the camera a little bit. Okay, let's just adjust the camera down here a little bit, guys. I'll try to get a better view here. Okay, that should be a little better, I think. And I can see this a little bit better. Oh yeah, much better. Okay, and maybe I don't cut off the top of my head like I usually do. So now I can get this thing in here if I can. I have to remove the first one. I'll take the throttle out of the way and so I can get at the aileron. The aileron is a double, so it's a little fatter. Make sure you get it on the right plug. You don't install it on the wrong one. God dang it here. The Spectrum sometimes are real tight-fitting receivers to get these plugs into. But, I'd rather have them a little tight than too loose. Right? Now, let's not forget to put our throttle channel back on there, huh? Cool. Now let's put the bolts in this thing, hold it together, and bind it up. And basically it's built. You got four long screws machined, which is kind of nice. Not just wood screws. And I say I'm going to have to get an Allen drive, hex head driver. I just got a screwdriver here, so I guess we'll have to take another short pause. Well, I like the idea of the hex head screws. That's definitely cool. Because you know what the damn Phillips heads are like, you put them in once, use them once, turn them out maybe once, you might get them back in again, but then you gotta hope that they stay in, because you might not get them back out. You at least get a fighting chance with the hex heads. So let me go grab a driver, and I will be right back. Let's set this here gently. Oh, that's what's hanging up, huh? Okay, we're back, guys. Yeah, I like the idea of hex head drivers, screws and bolts on this thing. I just go down until I feel contact a little bit on one side, and I back off so I can do the same with the other. So you don't pinch one side more than the other. You get a nice even wing that way. And these are threaded again, so that's going to be a nice, nice tight fit and no stripping. So if you don't want it, you won't have to go tight with this thing. You'll have a nice controlled torque. And front to back, I like to do the same. So I don't tighten down the front. I tighten just up till I get snug on both sides, or tight, contact on both sides, and then I go to the back and do the same. And then I'll do a crisscross pattern to get the torque on the wings evenly, and make sure you don't get anything warped or tightened the wrong way. This one doesn't want to go in, does it? Alright, there we go, right? No. Alright, we've got one that's giving us a bit of a hard time here. Let's see if I can get a better grip on this thing here. I have to give it just a little persuasion. There we go. It was hung up on just a little tiny lip of plastic in there, and then it popped in. So now it's going right on in. Okay, that side. This side. Okay, now I cross the pattern. Feel about the same snug on all of them, and just snug. And you're looking at the gap space on the front of the wings always, guys, too, to make sure you don't have to smush them into the wing. They just need to be flush up and snug. So if you start hearing crunching, or you see that the seats on the brackets or braces that hold the bottoms of the wings on start pushing into the foam, you've gone a little too far. Back off a little bit. And this plane's cut very nicely, because as I'm going and it meets contact on the bottom and stuff, the edges are actually nice and flush. So it's a very nicely built plane. This is definitely an improvement to what I've seen. I'm not sure I care about the taped hinges for the flaps, but they do have regular flaps for the ailerons. And I suppose tape is fine. It looks a little cheap. I probably, well, its tape is reinforcement. I see it still has foam flaps in there, so I have to correct myself on that one. There's still foam in there, and they've reinforced it with tape. Okay, so that's fine. So for those pilots who like to slam on the flaps when they're going fast, it looks like you're all just go right ahead. And that's a little much. I back off just a tad. Nice and even with the body lines, and that's what we want. The foam pieces are great, guys, for building your own planes with. Sometimes I just set them right up on top of the darn box, the foam box, the foam part of the box, and usually there's enough grooves and stuff cut in there that you can put the stuff in any position that you need. Like, this is great. Got the tail right up in the air here for me. Okay. Oh, they switched up on me. This one's got Phillips. Okay. No problem. We were ready for that. I would like to see hex heads all the way around. But who cares? There's not a whole lot of stress back here. We just need to keep them in there. Okay, I gotta push down and torque a little bit down here so I don't strip out the Phillips heads. So just kind of brace it and push, and just be very careful you don't stab your wing or your stab like I almost just did. Almost. And again, not really, really tight, just needs to be snug. Okay. Better angle on this one. Sometimes you guys can you can put a little soap, you know, just a little bit of bar soap or something on the end of the screw if you got it, if these are really tight and you're worried about stripping them like I am right now, and they'll glide in a little bit smoother. This one go down just a little more. I might have to call this a speed build. Run this one fast motion if I keep getting these little ones that are giving me the hard time. But all in all, I'm still impressed with this thing so far. I like the build of it. I like the tight fitting parts. And I don't mind the screws fitting tight because it just means that this stuff's not going to be sloppy either. And it's not. There's no slop in this at all. Just a little increment at a time. I'm almost there. And that's about the same as I said. That looks pretty good. Okay. And very tight. Nice and tight. Not going anywhere. Okay. Always a good idea to work the hinges a little bit. Alright. Now, for those of you maybe didn't see, when I put this thing together on both sides, there is a little piece that fits a little hole inside another hole, a hole in a hole, and it locks in there. It's like a square key. It's keyed. So you get one nice solid stabilizer. It's you're not going to get, you know, one side pulling and the other side just kind of slaving, you know, trailing over. It's all nice one solid piece. Alrighty, we got those in there. We've got our wings in, and I think we're ready to bind this thing, guys. Now this is a safe select model, so there's a different binding sequence. Instead of putting your bind plug in and then, you know, charging it up and binding it with the radio and then pulling your bind plug out like the normal binding procedure, this one you put the bind plug in, you plug the battery in. When the receiver flashes its red code and tells you that the memory is cleared and it's ready to, you know, to be bound, you pull the bind plug off, leaving it powered. Now you power up your radio holding your bind button, and it binds up that way, and then you get your safe select switches. For those of you that have had problems with that. Okay. I'm going to pick a new model here before we get started, so I don't bind over something else. now the radio is ready to bind up with a new model. And I'll turn it off for now. Let's see if I can turn the plane this way so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to power up the airplane. And I'm going to bind, I've got the bind plug in. And what they're saying to do is to get it flashing so it clears the codes. They want you to put it flat. Okay, and it's flashing, the bind is flashing. Now you want to pull the bind plug out before you bind it with the radio. Good time, huh? Good timing. Thing had to go off 7 o'clock. Alright, so now you pull the thing before you bind it with your radio while it's flashing. And it keeps flashing. Okay? So now you go ahead and bind it with your radio. Take a few feet back.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Telemetry. Bind complete.
Okay, all I've got to do is hook up the elevator and set up my controls. Other than that, it looks like the flaps and everything else are already pretty well set in. I didn't even have to do that yet. Safe select is going to be up on this switch. Oh, that's gear, sorry. Let's drop that gear and take a look at it. Pretty nice, pretty nice. But since we got it working, let's leave it down. Much better idea. And we'll try the motor. Sweet. Now I always like to set my throttle cut right away, guys. Avoid any accidents. And I go down here, I just click throttle cut. In fact, I'll show for those that don't know how to do this, because it's a good idea. Okay, so say I'm here now. I'm already set up. I've got it bound, and I know it works, but, ooh, man, I know I'm not always going to pull my prop off. Well, go down here, okay. We're going to go down and find throttle cut. Okay, push the button once, and you'll see it says inhibit. I want to go down there, I'll push the button again, and I'm going to move it. Now I'm going to assign the throttle cut over here on this side back here, which in this case, on my radio, it's switch number 8, or switch H. So I'm going to assign it to the H switch. Okay, and while I've got it there, I'm going to flip the switch. Okay, now when it goes up, throttle will kill. When it's down, throttle will run. Okay, and then simply just go back and you're back to your main screen. Okay, so working, throttle kill, throttle back on. But you leave it on like this if you're working, because you might bump your throttle. So always a good idea, guys. One of the first things I do. Other than that, guys, besides putting the bombs on and the propeller, this thing's pretty well built. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the power and stuff. I've got everything centered up on my radio, and when I come back, I'm going to show you how to program the radio. I'm going to go ahead and throw the bombs on and stuff like that real quick, but and put the canopy on. But when I come back, I'm going to show you how to set up the radio for your safe select, because there is a little bit of programming to do, but the instruction manual is direct. It tells you exactly step by step, and it's really not intimidating as it looks. Really pretty easy. And I'll show you step by step how to do it. Okay, so hold tight. Sorry guys, I have to take intermissions every once in a while. And I've got 3 dogs out back there that are being very patient, and they were letting me know that they needed something, so I had to take a minute or two. Alright, I've got the battery disconnected now, okay, just so that I can work around this thing, but I showed you how to do the throttle kill. And again, I think that's just a very important safety thing. You don't always have to worry about pulling your prop off and stuff that way too if you're working on your plane and around the prop. So we're going to pop some of our stuff on here because these just kind of clip on. So I don't. Try this one. I may have lied. These already pre-glued, or did they need to be glued? I'm not sure. They might just clip on. I think they pop on too. I think they pop on as well. Now these just all slide on from what I see. That makes them nice and easily removable if you don't want to fly with them. They will cut down, I'm sure, your speed and your roll rate. But I just think they look cool, so I'll probably want to fly with them. I'm going to push these on a different way, so I can't do it with one hand. These just pop in here too. No glue on this. I thought I was going to maybe have to glue this, but there is a clip on it. They're clipped. Of course, if you wanted to remove it, I guess glue wouldn't have been a good idea, would it? I'm going to set this back here. I think that'll be just fine like that. There we go. Got a little something to push on. Careful pushing these bombs on, guys. They do clip on, but if you push too hard, you'll dent the foam. So it's I gave them a little rocking motion. It kind of got it going a little bit, and then they snapped in. But they're a tight fit, so you're not going to lose them in the air. Maybe you get to see this here like that. There we go. Being careful not to push too hard on the top. We don't want to dent them now, right? Now you'll notice on the bombs, guys, and I just noticed it, so that was a lucky shot for me. There is a right and a left. I didn't notice that because there seems to be a little bit of an offset. If I'd have put it on the other way, it would have been touching the guns over here. So the little offset kind of seems to shunt it off to the other side a little bit and keep it away from the rocket launchers. Or missile tubes, whatever those are. Bazookas, they look like to me. Not sure what they would have had back then. I'm guessing like rockets. Let's see, what do we got here left? Pretty much just put a propeller on this thing and the spinner and we're done, huh? And the guns. Dab of glue on these things and they'll be right fine. Let's see which one's which. Inside, outside, okay. Those, or is it going to be that? I'm thinking like this. Yep, and that fits. That fits. Okay. I'm not even looking at the picture. I should have Pictures being worth 1,000 words sometimes. That's a lot easier when you don't like instructions that much. We got a spinner here left. That's pretty much it. Got the spinner, and they give us a couple of stars. I have to find out where decal here. A little star, just one? Oh, I thought there was two of them here. No, a little star sticker. I'm not sure where that goes. But it's got a hole in it, so I'm wondering if it goes over the prop or something somehow. I'll have to look at. I might have to look and see where that one's supposed to go. I don't have a clue. Now, for two of them, I'd say, well, maybe that was supposed to go over the wheels. Oh, there are two of them. Well, one has a hole and one doesn't. No, this one's got a hole too. It's just not punched all the way through. All right, I have to figure out where those go. Maybe the wheels, huh? That would be a good guess. Since there's two of them. Like star-spangled wheel covers. I don't know if I'd want them on there anyway. Maybe that's why they're optional and not stuck on there already. And what do we got here? This is like a pitot tube. Pitot tube for, I have to find out where this one sticks. A little pitot tube. I didn't see that on the pictures either. Alright, this is going to go in there like that, so we want our prop like this. Facing out. A little snug cap right over the top. Lines up nicely. Fits nicely. Must be where it goes. Okay. Now don't over tighten these things, guys. Well, that's got a nice typical E-Flite clunk. Wow, that clunk's worse than the timber did. I hope this motor's okay. Anyway, I always give it a little snug and just a little bit past. You don't want to be able to spin it off with your bare fingers, but you don't want to over torque it because you don't want to stress the bearings and stuff in there because you're pulling on stuff. But that should be pretty good. But pretty much, you know, finger tight. Don't torque them. It's a nice looking plane. Nice looking plane, guys. All right. Aside from hooking up my aileron or my elevator, this plane is done. And oh, I did say I was going to program the radio, so we'll have to. You know what I think I'll do is because this video is getting kind of long, is I'll do the programming of the radio on a separate video. Okay. So let's just hook this up and power it up and call this one a done. They call for centering the surface is nice and square and straight. And this one has already got a little bit of down to it, so I'm going to give it a little mechanical adjustment because I left this thing with the centered servos and I unplugged it so they didn't move. And I'll recheck them again once I power it up to see that nothing has moved, because sometimes they do. Alright, that looks pretty darn straight. Now all the markings and all the positions for the ailerons for stock, you know, what they suggest from the factory settings are marked in the book. Some pilots like to go with a little more throw, some people go a little bit less. I usually stick somewhere around the factory settings, and then I just adjust my radio from there and usually get pretty much anything I need. Actually, I'm still kind of working at that. I'm a little new at it still, so I suppose as I get a little bit more progressed in the hobby, I'll be learning how to do all the mixing and stuff like that. I want to become get really good at mixing, be a mix master, but it's rocket science for me right now, and I'm into airplanes. I wonder where this little guy goes. I'm actually going to have to look at the book to see where this one goes. But let's just go ahead and fire it up. And I like these back here with the plastic tabs on top and bottom, so you don't scratch your foam every time you take your canopy off. And now it's bind up like normal. Turn your radio on, plug your battery in, and then just leave it sit for 5 seconds for your AS3X to kick in. All switches in the up position on your radio, all trims and everything neutral. And it does its little dance, and it's done. Now this is a rare thing for me. I actually get on here and right off the bat, all the controls are right up. I don't have to reverse anything, set anything. I'm going to be surprised if I even have to do any trimming. In fact, throws even look like they're pretty darn nice for an AS3X. Sweet. Now we got the throttle kill, see? So if I bumped it, I wouldn't have hurt myself up here. But it does work. So there you have it, guys. This is the finished product. Nice looking airplane. You test your gyros and stuff. I give it a little movement. I tilt this way. The control surfaces go in opposite directions. And you know you're good to go. Alright, thanks for watching. Check back. I'll have the programming. I'll do a programming video. I've got to go in the hospital tomorrow, so I'm going to be gone for a few days, but I'll get a programming video on how to set up your radio, and so you have all your proper AS3X select settings for all the 3 different flight envelopes that this airplane affords. Alright, happy flying, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Power Hobby for all your RC needs. They were kind enough to send this along, guys. Give them a shot. They will match prices. They do price match guarantees, and their promo code is POWER10, in case you missed that. It gets you 10% off of anything in the store. Thanks. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.